Welcome, Kim Knight here from kimknighthealth.com, and in this video I'd like to explain what happens in a Kiwi Health Detective session. Now, the Kiwi Health Detective session is a signature technique that I have developed, which took me 12 years to hone and develop, which identifies and reveals the cause of illness. So it could be physical symptoms, it could be more like depression or anxiety that just doesn't go away, or it could even be ongoing chronic unhappiness. But whatever the problem is, this technique will reveal the absolute root causes. So let me tell you what we're going to be covering in this video. And you might want to settle down, get a cup of tea, because I've got lots of really juicy information to share. So what I'm going to explain in this video is what happens in a Kiwi Health Detective session, who will benefit from this session and who won't benefit from it, what makes this technique so different from other therapies, even if you've tried hundreds of other things, some amazing healing stories from clients, and why this 90-minute session could change your life. So let me start by asking you, is this you? Do you experience pain, fatigue, insomnia, inexplicable symptoms, and no one seems to be able to tell you why? Do you feel like you've tried everything and yet you're still no closer to getting the answer? Do your friends and family simply not understand what's going on for you, and you feel really isolated and alone in your pain or your fatigue? Or maybe they think you're making it up, and maybe they even say to you, you don't even look ill, because often we can feel incredibly unwell inside and yet look perfectly normal on the outside. It's not like we have a broken leg or we've had a surgery, but we can feel horrendous on the inside. Do you feel confused, exhausted, fed up, maybe even ashamed because you just can't sort this out? And no one really understands what's going on for you. They just don't understand what it feels like on the inside. Have you had multiple tests at your doctor, maybe even a natural therapist, and still they can't find anything wrong, but you know something's wrong because you feel so bad? Are you even afraid that maybe you'll never get well? You just can't see an end to this. You feel like you've tried everything and you're frightened that you're going to spend the rest of your life like this, and it may even get worse. So why am I asking these questions? Well, these were all the things that I went through myself. I know exactly what it feels like to feel this, to think this. I was sick for years and no one could tell me what was wrong. I had clinical depression. Later, I had many years of chronic fatigue syndrome. I've experienced ongoing back pain, fibromyalgia type symptoms, allergies, hay fever, asthma, urinary tract infections, anxiety, stress, and more. Years of chronic illness. In fact, I was forced to quit my job and I was unable to work for about 10 years. And nobody could really tell me what was wrong. They thought they could tell me what was wrong, but nothing was making a difference. I wasn't getting well. I tried over 140 therapies over a 5-year period, and still I was no nearer to being well. And over my journey to eventually get well, I lost my house, my car, my savings, and years of income. And eventually, I actually sold my house to travel the world to find the answers, which I eventually did. So I want to avoid, or for you to avoid, having to go through what I went through. I don't want you to have to lose your job if you're still working. Many people I work with have already lost their job. Some people haven't. I don't want you to get so sick that you can't function in life. And I'm going to share a story later of a lady that I worked with who was in that place. I don't want you to lose your home, your car, your life savings. I don't want you to miss out on years of living your life to the full. I don't want you to miss out on relationships, on family, on time with your partner, your children, your career. So how do I help people? Well, what I do is I help people who've been told there's no hope or no solution or no cause of their illness to actually find the cause and find the solutions. That's what I do. So essentially, I help people get their life back. Even when they've been told there is no answers, there's no solutions, no cause, we will find the cause. And then I will show you how it is possible to get your life back and your health back. So I literally traveled the world to find answers. As I said, I took 10 years unable to work, and really this journey was 25 years in total from the time that I was diagnosed with clinical depression. And if you add on all the illnesses that started before that, really it was 35 years. I spent my house. I spent over $250,000 in all the therapies I tried, and then later the professional trainings and methods that I trained in to get myself well first and then to help others. So now I help people get their life back in a fraction of the time that it took me. And normally the time that I can help people in is approximately 3 to 6 months. That time will be clearer once I've had my Kiwi Health Detective session, the first session that I always have with all new clients. But generally, in 3 to 6 months, somebody can have their life back or be well back on track, which is a fraction of the time it took me. And I really believe that I took the long route up the mountain, if you like, in order to be able to shortcut that route for other people. And often I can have clients contact me and then be unsure of maybe taking that next step, and they'll leave it another 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, and then they still haven't got the answers they want, and then they'll come back to me 3 years later and we'll do in 3 months what we could have previously done 3 years before. So I don't want you to waste your life. I lost a lot of my life. I lost a lot of time, and we can't get back time. Our life is precious. It goes by quickly, very, very quickly. Our life is supremely precious, and time is something that we can't get back. So I'm going to share how I did that for myself, how I got myself well in a moment. But first of all, just a few more details. Since 2006, I've been helping hundreds of chronically ill people, and I work remotely all over the world. I've worked with people in Europe, UK, I know that's Europe, USA, Canada, India, Asia, the Pacific, Singapore, United Arab Emirates. I've worked with people in many, many different countries. So distance is no object to healing. And this is because when we have a physical illness, the cause is not really often something physical. Those factors may play a factor, but the real big causes are not physical. So we don't have to be in the same room. There's no touch required, as in, therapies such as massage. We can do this from anywhere in the world. So here's a picture of me a few years ago with Dr. Libby. You may have heard of her. And we were at the Next Woman of the Year Awards, where I was a finalist for the Woman of the Year for contribution and innovation in health and science. And then just last year, I won an award at a major health conference in New Zealand. And amongst 1,400 delegates, I was the only non-medical person. And I often speak at medical conferences because I love to share this cutting edge information which is now coming into our medical system, and in another 20, 30 years, hopefully it will be the norm. But right now, me and my colleagues, we're really pioneering this new approach to healthcare. And I love training people. So here's a picture, 300 people training in Australia. So I've worked with teenagers, adults, men, women, youngest clients 14, oldest clients 88 so far. I've worked with people who are skeptical at the beginning. I've worked with people who are believers at the beginning. I've worked with people who've tried everything. And I've worked with people who've only ever been to a doctor before coming to see me. And I've worked with people with all sorts of problems, whether it's pain, fatigue, digestive issues, insomnia, stress, anxiety. It actually doesn't matter what the issue is, because as you're going to find out, whatever the presenting symptoms are, when we dig down to the root and we reveal the root, we're going to find that the cause is very similar for most people. So I work with people who have a lot of different symptoms and they just can't find the answer, and the symptoms are just not going away. They just can't get rid of those symptoms. So let's look at a few of the results. Let me share some of the wonderful success stories from people that I've worked with. So here we are. Here was a lady that I worked with recently, and she came to me, and by the way, there's a video on my website which you can watch. She came to me and she'd been in hospital. She'd had many, many different tests. She was in agony. She was dizzy. She was nauseous. She had pain in her head, pain in her body, absolutely exhausted. She could no longer look after her children. As a result, she had to move out of her family home with her partner because her partner was working. They had to move in with the in-laws because the in-laws had to look after the children, because she literally could hardly get out of bed. She could no longer function as a normal human being. And she had had many, many different tests. Everything was coming back normal, but clearly she was unwell. She was in excruciating agony, absolutely exhausted, nauseous, dizzy, could hardly stand up. And within 6 months, she was able to move back out from the in-laws, back into their own home. She was able to virtually or more or less function normally again. She was able to look after her children and resume a normal life. And her life has just been getting better and better since then. And then there was another lady here, another girl here who I worked with, who had very bad or very severe eating disorder, was literally potentially a few days away from dying. And she had seen many therapists, doctors, psychiatrists, and yet they had not been able to pinpoint those root causes. And in our first session, which is what I do, we pinpointed those root causes, and for the first time she understood why she had the eating disorder. And over a period of 6 months, we worked together, and she also had medical help as well, because she needed to. The day after we spoke, I said to her, you need to go and see your doctor. You need to get medical help. And she did. So we worked together. And within 6 months, she was completely normal, all weight resumed, normal weight resumed, normal eating resumed, back at school, happy and healthy. So these are the sort of results that people can get and do get when we work together. So if you want to check out some of these success stories, you can go to my website, kimknighthealth.com/success stories. And you can also go to my old website, which is still on the web, but it's not mobile friendly, just a warning, which is artofhealth.co.nz success stories. So you can look on both those websites And really, there's just a fraction of the stories on my websites because I just don't really have time to keep up with putting the stories on the website. And there are enough on there anyway to give you an idea. So why is it that I do something different? Why is it that I'm able to help where other people are not able to? And I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just saying that I can do something that some people can't. Well, the first thing is my own personal journey. So 25 years of seeking to find answers that did not require medication or supplements. I just knew there had to be a different way. And that is why I tried over 200 therapies and did lots of workshops and healing and all sorts of things. And it was an up and down journey. It was not a straight journey. It was not a straight line. One day I'd think I'd be getting better. I'd be better maybe for a week, and then I would be ill again. And this went on and on and on for years, until one day I was lying in bed and I really thought I was never going to get better again. And that was the day I decided to sell my house and travel the world to have one last trip around the world in case I could never do that again. And I really thought that maybe I may die. I sold my house, but I was still looking for answers. And I traveled and was seeing therapists still. And right at the end of that trip, I found the answers. And I'm going to share what the major answer was, the major piece of the missing puzzle was in a while. So my own personal journey of trying lots and lots of different things and persevering and going through the ups and downs and the hills and valleys of this very, very long journey, which I can now shortcut for other people. And I remember a few years ago, a colleague of mine asking me, Kim, if somebody came to you back then, this is like 20 years ago now, she said, if somebody came to you and said to you, I have the answers that you now have, what would you have said and what would you have paid them? And my immediate answer was, oh my God, if I could have saved myself 15 years of searching and hundreds of thousands of dollars and losing my house and my car and my life savings, I would have paid that person anything. And I can tell you what people pay me now is a fraction of what I spent to get my life back. So it's my own personal journey. I know exactly what it takes to get well. I know what creates illness. I have an incredible ability to intuitively see in another person what the causes are, what the problems are, and to be able to help them see it. Because the secret is, you see, is that we have to understand it ourselves. It's not about somebody else fixing us. It's about us recognizing or recognizing what it is we haven't seen up until now. And then the body can self-heal. Because our body is an incredible self-healing machine. So, what is it that I do different? It's my own personal journey. I tried over 200 therapies. I also trained in many, many different modalities, which are very, very cutting edge. Not many people have heard of them because they're just not that common yet. They are absolutely on the cutting edge of science. And they're all about getting to the root cause of physical symptoms, which usually have very little to do with anything physical. The physical symptoms are just the end result. I'm going to be talking more about that in a minute. So specialty training, and then many, many years, thousands of hours of training and clinical experience with clients. And when you work with a lot of clients, you start to see common recurring themes and patterns. And you start to see the much, much bigger picture of what causes illness. And so I have a very, very deep understanding of what causes illness and also what needs to happen in order to reverse it. So I want to share some secrets to health before I get into what actually happens in the session, in the first Kiwi Health Detective session. I want to share a few secrets because I want you to leave with some really juicy, useful information. So here are a few things you can contemplate. The body never makes mistakes. The body is far too intelligent to make mistakes. If you have symptoms, they are not a mistake. They are not random. Now, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, all I knew was that if you had a pain or a problem, you didn't question it. You didn't question it yourself. You just noticed it. And then you went to a doctor and you expected the doctor to either give you something such as a pill or an ointment, or maybe you had to go for some surgery. And that was all I knew about illness and getting well. Well, since then, I've learned a lot more, I can assure you. And by the way, I'm going to mention it at the end of this video, but if you want to check out more about this understanding of illness, then check out my What Healthcare Model is Right for Me. It's a free series. I'll share with you the link at the end of this video. So our body is far too intelligent to make mistakes. If we have symptoms, there is a reason for it. And this is a fundamental difference in the perspective compared to what I grew up with, for example, because conventional medicine says that symptoms are a mistake, that it's random. Nothing could be further from the truth. Illness is not random. There is always a reason, and we have to find out what that reason is, and that is why I call myself the Kiwi Health Detective and why I have this Kiwi Health Detective breakthrough session. Secondly, symptoms are intelligent communication which require interpreting. So the body is intelligent. It uses symptoms to get our attention. It's trying to tell us something, and that is what we work out in this Kiwi Health Detective session. Physical illness and symptoms are often not caused by anything physical. Now, this is another radical idea for some people. Often in our conventional system, we are trying to treat a physical problem with a physical answer, physical solution. But you see, if the problem does not lie at a physical level, using something physical will either not address it at all, or it will just be a plaster. All right? So we have to get to the root. And if you imagine a plant or a tree, it has the stem, has the branches, the leaves, and then it has the roots, which are underground. We don't see the roots. So that's where we have to go to get the answers. And another big one is that emotions can create physical symptoms. And this is the big area that I focus on, is understanding how emotions create physical symptoms. Now that may seem really radical. It may seem completely bizarre that, well, how can a feeling create a physical symptom? Well, I can assure you it does. And when I work with people and in my online programs, I explain this in detail. And also, what most people don't realize is that every cell, tissue, and organ have a dual function. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is we have the physical function of the cell, tissue, or organ. So for example, the digestive tract is there to digest food, right? It's there to swallow that food, to chunk it up, to take the nutrients out, to expel the waste material. That is the function of the digestive tract. But the digestive tract also has a metaphysical function, and the word meta means beyond or above. So it's not a woo-woo word, it just means beyond or above. So the digestive tract has to digest our life. Our digestive tract has to digest our emotions and our emotional life. And if we have digestive issues, it means we're not digesting something that is happening to us or happened to us in the past in our life. And this is what we have to identify and resolve. So also, much illness is actually set up by the age of 7, but we have no idea that that happens. And I go very deeply into this, or we go deeply into this in the first session. Ongoing stressors and trauma create serious illness, and we'll be identifying exactly what those stressors are and what the traumas were. Childhood abuse, bullying, and trauma will lead or can lead to serious illness. We have to identify this and heal it. Suppressing emotions will lead to disease, and the word disease is the word dis-ease. And if we have a lot of negative emotions stored in us, then we're going to eventually, if we don't deal with them, it is going to lead to a state of dis-ease. And really, if we have any life problems at all, they all go back to the same root cause. So no matter what is turning up in our life that's not working, which could be our career isn't working, our partner relationship isn't working, our relationship with our children or our family isn't working, our finances aren't working. Whatever's not working in our life, it all goes back to these root causes, which is what we dig out in the first session. And really, ultimately, the truth is we heal people, not illness. We heal a whole person's life, not a health condition. And you may want to contemplate that statement because it's very profound. And as I mentioned before, the body is an incredible self-healing machine. It is built to heal itself. Now we know this. If you break your leg or an arm or whatever, you go to the doctor, they set the bone, they put it in a cask, and then they leave it and they let the body heal, right? The cask, or whatever it's called, is not healing your body, right? It's just there to hold the bones in place, to make sure that nothing moves, to give the body the best possibility of healing itself. The body does the healing. Your body is designed to heal itself. But if you're getting in the way and you are avoiding what needs to be looked at, which is all unconscious, by the way, and you're just getting in your own way, then the body can't heal itself. So we have to identify those blocks and we have to remove them. So what happens in a Kiwi Health Detective session? Let me give you a bit more of an idea. We're going to find the missing pieces of the puzzle. And as you know, a detective follows clues and solves mysteries. And that is what we're going to do in this first session. And we're going to find the root causes, and there may be more than one, but they'll all be connected. There'll be like a theme and a pattern. And we're going to isolate and identify the causes of the symptoms, or whether that's illness or unhappiness. And you're going to understand how everything in your life has led up to this moment, including whatever symptoms of illness or unhappiness you're experiencing. You're going to see the total picture. And what I liken it to is a helicopter view of your life. So if you imagine that you were to get in a helicopter and then you were to rise up above the ground and look at your life from 0 to now, you're going to get a helicopter view of your whole life, and you're going to understand how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. And they're not random, separate events may seem separate and random, but actually they're not random at all, because history keeps repeating itself. And whatever is not resolved from the past will keep repeating today, even though it may look different. So you're also going to find out what is going to be needed to get well, what is going to be needed to reverse the symptoms. And you're going to discover that there is hope and that there are solutions. And this is really, really important. We've got to have hope. And for myself, for example, when I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, I was sent home. I was told there's no known reason, there's no solution, just go home and rest. And this is what millions of people are told. Not just hundreds of thousands, but millions of people around the world. And so I did that, and I went home, and for 3 months I just sat on the couch and did nothing. I dragged myself out of bed in the morning. I watched a TV program in the morning. That was the highlight of my day. I could do nothing. I could not drive. I couldn't go out and do the shopping. I had to have my food delivered. I was living by myself. It was difficult. And after 3 months, I decided one day I cannot spend the rest of my life like this. And I made a very important decision that day. And this is a decision that you are going to have to make. I have found that this decision is a decision that everyone has to come to if they're in the situation where they have ongoing symptoms and it's been going on and on and on, and they're just not getting anywhere. We have to reach this decision point of, I'm going to do whatever it takes to find an answer. I'm absolutely committed to changing the situation, to getting well. Even though I don't know how, I'm going to find a way. And that was the decision that I made that day. And once I made that decision, all sorts of books and information and therapies started coming my way that I'd never heard of before. Now, that didn't mean that I got well straight away. It was 6 more years before I found my total answers. But as I said, I can help shortcut that now. In the first session, you will get the answers. And then if we work together in private coaching, then in usually 3 to 6 months, your life will be turned around. So how do I do what I do? Well, that is the secret sauce. That is the years of experience and training and clinical practice all rolled up into one, where I've now developed my own signature technique for identifying and isolating the cause, and then also knowing what it is that people need to do to get their life back. But what I can tell you is, in this first session, is it's very simple. It's a series of questions that I'm going to ask you that are going to reveal the causes. And also you will be sent a pre-session questionnaire. So there's nothing dramatic about this first session. It's a conversation that we have where I ask certain questions that I know need to be asked in order to reveal these, up until now, hidden causes. So who is this session for? Well, it's for anyone with ongoing symptoms which aren't going away. It's for anyone who's tried hundreds of other treatments, or maybe even only 3 other treatments, but nothing seems to be working. It's for anyone whose tests are coming back negative, but you know you have pain or fatigue. It's for anyone who suspects they've not healed their past at an emotional level. It's for anyone who's been told there are no reasons and no solutions for their illness. It's also for anyone who is willing to explore new perspectives and be open-minded to new solutions. It's for anyone who's had enough of putting their life on hold and living their life at less than full capacity. It's for anyone who's absolutely ready, willing, and committed to getting well and wants to do so now. That's why I've put that in red. If you are ready, committed, and willing, and want that change now, you absolutely want it with every ounce of your being, then you are ripe and ready for this session. Who is this session not for? If you think you know the answers already and you say to yourself, well, I've tried everything, this isn't going to work, this isn't for you, because your mind will not be open enough to the new information. Because one of the things that I realize is that in order to get a different result, we have to do something different. And that is just a law. It's not for you if you think you've tried everything and you're not willing to be open to the truth that actually you probably haven't tried everything. You know, often people say to me, I've tried everything, and I ask how many things they've tried, and maybe they've tried 3, maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 30. I tried over 220 therapies, and I've only actually met one client who tried that many. Most people have tried somewhere between 3 and 20, and that is not everything by a long shot. And it is not for people who think that change is going to happen in one session or overnight. Yes, you're going to get some revelations, maybe some insights, some aha moments in this session, but that doesn't mean you're going to be healed. This is not how it works, because we need to change things that we've been doing. We need to heal things that are not healed. Now, it is possible. I have worked with some people who literally have been well in 1 or 2 weeks, but I find that this is a much, much smaller percentage. And if you think about it, as I said, The foundation of illness is usually set up by the age of 7, and usually by the time people see me, they've been ill for maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Do you think it is logical, or I can't think of the word, but do you think that it's likely that if you've been ill and building up to illness for that amount of time, that in 1 hour, your life will be completely different? It's just not how it works. And the reason for that is that we need we need to get the lesson that we're being asked to get. We need to learn something about ourselves. We need to change something about ourselves. We need to heal. So it's also not for people who are not ready and willing to heal what needs to be healed and change what needs to be changed. And that is exactly what I show people. Show people exactly what it is that needs healing and what needs changing in their life. And that can't be done in 1 hour, right? That's just unrealistic. So how did I get well? Well, as I said, I searched for answers for many years, and then I discovered the root causes. And I discovered the major missing piece was emotions. You could also put stress there, so stress and emotions. Now, it's not that there aren't other factors, and there are many, many contributing factors to illness, and I go into that in detail in my What Causes Illness online program, and that is a free program. But the missing piece, or a big missing piece, is emotions. And beliefs are unconscious beliefs which sit like the iceberg under the water. They go hand in hand with emotions and also with our thoughts. And our behaviors go hand in hand with our beliefs, our emotions, and our thoughts. So I discovered how my mind was operating, how my emotions were operating, and that is what enabled me to piece everything together and learn how to reverse the symptoms, because the symptoms were just the end result of not dealing with my emotions, having a lot of negative thoughts, having a lot of limiting self-beliefs, which were running in the unconscious, and all of that had to be changed. And that's why I say we can't change that in an hour, right? We are very complex beings. So I learned how to transform and clear emotional energy from my body. I spent years doing that, learning techniques and then implementing the techniques. So for example, my Smile Your Way to Inner Peace program, which is an online program, it is a meditation where you go in and you clear emotional energy from your body, from your organs. And I practiced that technique every day for 7 years. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do that to get well. It was what I did, and that enabled me to really learn what are emotions, where are they, how do I clear them. I became very, very proficient at being able to identify and clear emotional energy. And then that enabled me to have the ability to be able to help other people do it. So that was my training to be able to become an emotional expert. So I learned how to reduce my symptoms by clearing the emotions. I learned that if I had depression, which is an emotion, or anxiety, depression, which is a symptom, or anxiety, which is also a symptom, or fatigue, which is a symptom, or back pain, which is a symptom, I learned how to identify the emotions underneath, clear them, and therefore reduce the symptoms. And I learned how to clear and identify limiting beliefs, or identify and clear limiting beliefs. And I learned how to stop the unhealthy self-defeating habits and behaviors I was running, such as always pushing myself too hard and working too many hours and not having breaks and not having meals and lots of negative thinking. I learned all of this. I identified all of it. And I learned how to love myself authentically and believe in myself. And I'm still learning to do this. It's still a work in progress. But I basically changed myself from the inside out. And this is what we have to do. And this is what I teach people how to do, whether it's in private coaching or online programs. This is what I teach people to do. And so I learned how to take back control over my physical body. And this is empowering. This is empowerment. And this is what I love about the work that I do, is that I teach people how to do it for themselves. I teach you how to do it for yourself so that you take back power and control over your mind, your emotions, your body. And this is self-mastery. This is the ultimate form of healthcare. Rather than having to rely on somebody else, you can take control of your life. And this is empowering, and it leads to freedom. And then, of course, as a result of doing it for myself, I learned how to help others do it too. And that's what I'm still doing. So the first step is we have to identify the problem or problems. The second step is we identify the solution. And that is what we do in the first Kiwi Health Detective breakthrough session. So just as if your car broke down and you have no idea why it's broken down, I wouldn't know myself. I don't know cars. I know bodies, but not cars. So if I was to take my car to a mechanic, if it broke down, I would have no idea why. And really, you know, that's not my area of interest. I'd rather take it to somebody else who knows what to do. They would have to isolate the problem. They would have to isolate, is it the radiator? Is it something electrical? What is it? What is it that's causing the problem? If they can't identify the problem, they cannot apply a solution. They will not know what tool to take off the shelf to use. They will not know what spare parts to order in. They will not be able to solve that problem. But once they identify the problem, the solution is very clear. It becomes self-evident. And that is what we do in this first session. The problem is identified so that the solution becomes self-evident. And that's what I love helping people do. I love helping people identify the root cause and then know what the solution is. So, are you ready? Are you ready to get your life back? Let me share just a few more feedbacks from people before we finish. And as I said, there's many more on the website. One person said, I would never have been able to figure this out by myself. It's been priceless. This lady, I remember she came, she was actually a pharmacist. And you can see her video on my website. And she was also a naturopath. So she tried the supplements, she tried the medical route, but still her fatigue, her depression, her symptoms were still there. In the first session, we identified the cause, and then we spent the next few weeks resolving those causes, and she was back to work because she'd had to leave her work and move back in with her parents, so she was able to go back to work, find another place to live, and get her life back on track. Another person said, I feel like I've just been handed the keys to my life. You've unlocked the whole key to my life. Now that was a comment that came 1 week after the first session, where this person's symptom level reduced from 7 out of 10 to 0 out of 10. And she had previously been off work for months, and she had been to both her company doctor and her own personal doctor. She had chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. She was not able to work, and within, I think it was 2 months, maybe less, she was back at work. Everything was fine. And another person said, you're an expert in this field. I love working with you. You're making a difference in my life. You're awesome at what you do. I've worked with so many therapists and tried so many things, and I've never worked with anyone like you. You cut through the bullshit of whatever my mind is creating to label it, but at the same time, you're humble and you're with me as an equal. It's really, really powerful. So here's the thing, when you've gone through really challenging situations, it does make you humble, and it also makes you have the ability to understand what it feels like for somebody else. Because one of the problems when we have ongoing chronic pain or fatigue, and we're talking to somebody who's never experienced it, they just don't get it. And I remember when I was 17 and I had my first bout of urinary tract infection, and it was agony, absolute agony. If you've ever had a UTI, you'll know what I mean. And prior to that, my mother had often experienced it too, and I never understood what she was going on about. It was just words to me. But as soon as I had that myself, oh my God, it was like, oh my God, this is what you've been having and experiencing. And I had so much more compassion for her after that. So I have had so many symptoms myself and gone through so much in the last 25 years that I totally understand where you're coming from. So there are two ways you can book a session. You can book directly right now. If you're outside New Zealand, you just book and pay online on the link from the website. If you're inside New Zealand, at this point doing this video right now, you email me and I will send payment instructions because it's different for people in New Zealand. Maybe in the future there may also be an online booking button for that, but right now as I do the video there isn't. But if there is, it'll be self-evident on the website. And then we will have a 90-minute session wherever you are in the world. It doesn't matter. It can be from your computer, your smartphone, your laptop, your iPad, whatever. And we will have an online meeting via my online meeting software, and you'll be sent the link, and you'll also be asked to fill in a pre-session questionnaire. If you don't want to book directly and you wanted to see, well, you know, am I a right fit? You can fill in the form on the website. And it has been structured so that I know exactly, if you give the answers to the questions that I'm asking, I will know whether you are a fit or not. And if I think you are, I will say so. And if I think you're not, I will also say so. So you can fill in that form and that will help tell me if you're a fit. And if you are a fit, then I will send you the link to book the session. And that's how it works. So if you still want more information, because, you know, we can have a lot of doubts, especially if we've tried many things, then what I recommend you do is that you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/Kim Knight Art of Health, or just search Kim Knight Art of Health on YouTube. Look at some of my videos. There's a lot of videos there. You can subscribe to my free program, What Healthcare Model is Right for Me, and that will also give you a feel for my philosophy, my approach, and also give you lots of really useful information, plus a free ebook to help you identify what your health beliefs are. You can also watch my free What Causes Illness series, which I'm right in the middle of finishing right now as I'm doing this video. You're going to learn on this series the 4 quadrants of illness, the 30+ core factors, core causal factors of illness, how your body has 3 levels of communication, 3 ways of communicating to you, your 3 brains and how they communicate to you and why this is important to know. You're going to learn about stress and safety, quantum physics, and how trauma gets stuck in the body. You can join me on Facebook and follow all the posts. Tend to post quite frequently on there, and that is where people will get first notification of new offers, new programs, new opportunities. You can read my blog on my website, kimknighthealth.com, and I have video blogs and I have written blogs. And you can just browse my website, kimknighthealth.com. So I hope this has been useful. The purpose of this video is to give you the information that you want and need to know in order to book a session, because the reality is I can no longer have this conversation with people on a one-on-one basis by phone before booking a session. I used to do that, but unfortunately time does no longer permit me, with the number of people wanting to ask questions, to give this information on a one-on-one way by phone. So this is why I've created this video. I hope it has been useful. Please do check out all the other resources, and I really look forward to helping you if you feel it's the right time to take the next step.